Ladies and gentlemen, it's week 16. You know what that means. We're back with Zesty's Best Bets. Trying to give you all the picks this week to make you even more money. The Zesty made you last week. In fuego he is with the picks. We're recording Thursday night. The Rams just beat the Saints. So Betting Public just hit its first two bets of the week. Tell me about why you were confident in the Rams and the under. Speaking of those first two picks, before we get into Zesty's picks this week.
Correction, that's the over. 30-22 hit the
Right,
you're in
the over.
that I hit the 46 that I had it at, and also the 45 or 45 and a half that some others may have had it at. Like the Rams in this spot, one, because I think that they're overall just playing better football as of late and a better football team. Don't trust the Saints for very many reasons, well, not the least of which is inconsistency on offense. So figured the Rams would run all day and have plenty of momentum to get things done on offense. They came through with for me, 30 points. They decided to give up a garbage teeds there at the end to help out the over, which we also appreciate as well. Gave us a little bit of a backdoor scare. My butthole was getting a little tight there at the end, but they were able to come through, ran the ball down their throats, and then old Matty Stafford stiffened up them legs and, took one for the knee for the last 2 or 3 seconds so we could get that clock running out nice and clean. So worked out well. Not going to take too much of a victory lap. Thursday Night Football is a shit show, and this is more so about feeling slightly better. So good start to the week, 2-0, but we'll see how the rest of the weekend goes. Merry fucking Christmas.
Zesty, did you have anything out on the Thursday night game?
Yeah, I had the Rams. Then I had the under. Made a smart decision to buy out of that. Took a $30.45 loss, but it essentially was a $300 win. So I'll take that any day. Sometimes you got to know when you're beat, and if you can hedge or get out of it. It's another strategy to use. But let's get it rocking and rolling.
Few things better than the cash out opportunity there. So we are rocking and rolling. We're on to a couple Saturday games. First one up, the Pittsburgh Steelers at home versus Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't see anyone taking the Bengals or the Steelers, but I did see the under. The under it's at 38 now. It was on the sheet for 37, so.
Yeah, I'm actually on the Steelers. I think the Steelers win outright. I think it's approaching midnight on Jake Browning and the Bengals. The sky is falling. It's so bad in Pittsburgh that they're trying to sell him off to the Commanders. This is just what Tomlin does. He's got his boy, old bent in the head, Rudolph. At some point they're going to play. I don't know what it is with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the receivers, but I'd be a little pissed off if I'm not getting the ball too. But they're clearly immature. They don't run the ball well. Hopefully they give the ball to Warren, but Cincinnati doesn't stop anybody, so total rising doesn't make me scratch my head any bit. Chase being out to the public's a big deal, but he's maybe worth, I don't know, a point. I think Mixon and scheme are more important, but I think Pittsburgh is actually going to be able to bully him and make Jake Browning come back to earth a little bit. Somehow Pittsburgh will probably try to screw me, but I'm on them plus 2.5. It's now plus 3. I have a money line as well. I've got them on a teaser. I just think they're the correct side. As I mentioned, sky's falling in Pittsburgh. They always seem to turn around and be average.
I did see threw him on that teaser as well. Obviously, I'm hoping for the turnaround here. Just some kind of corrective, something, because they couldn't look any worse than they have the last 2 weeks. But on to our next game, 6 o'clock matchup on a Saturday. Buffalo goes to the West Coast to play the Los Angeles Chargers. Is Stick still a quarterback? Going with the big stick.
Did you have anything on Pittsburgh, Cincy public?
I was just gonna say I'm on the under, so I think that there's just enough shitty defense in Cincinnati to make Pittsburgh's offense look somewhat serviceable. So don't mind the plus 2.5, but I like you. See Browning struggling here, and Mason Rudolph just generally being Mason Rudolph. So I'm on the under. Don't mind the plus 2.5, plus 3. Might follow my way over there.
Yeah, so to segue into the Bills Chargers, so this is one of my bet theories. You get your ass beat. I like to back you the next week. You beat some ass and you go on the road and you're a heavy favorite. I like to back the dog. You add in the dead coach game. You know, typically there's a boost to the interim head coach. Don't love it. The Chargers are still a train wreck. They're without Allen. They're without Herbert. Don't run the ball. Game opened up at 14, was heavily bet down to 11.5. Now it's at 12.5. I've got a little statistic. Double-digit favorites, the Bills, after coming off a victory like they did against the Cowboys, they're only covering 33% of the games. So it's more of a spot bet versus any analytics. I think Buffalo is going to try to get out of there healthy, probably mess around too much, maybe get a little heroic, or have it in control to where they're not pushing for points. I would rather have 13 at least, but 12.5. Like I said, I think this game still plays relatively close. It's going to be one of the two things. It's either going to be close, they're going to be concerned, or it's going to be a boat race pretty quick.
Public, I'm trying to see. Did you have this game?
Do indeed. Took the opposite side in terms of the points. If I'm going to go anywhere, I'll lay the 12 with Buffalo. San Diego, man, a little bit of a shit show down there. And I thought my theory was they would fire Staley, let my boy from Boise State come in, take over the reins, give him a little test drive as the head coach. They have not. So that leads me to believe that whoever the interim is that they named is just going to let Kellen Moore do whatever the fuck he feels like on offense, probably a little bit more than Brandon Staley was advising. So I'm looking for big-time offense out of this game, like the over for the most part. And in terms of the side, I don't see San Diego playing enough defense to do anything. I think this is a big Stephon Diggs game, big Josh Allen game, and I think that they can cover the 12, but it's more everything that you said is right. Bad spot, trip a lot of ways to trip up over this if you're the Bills. I just can't trust. I can't trust the Chargers. I can't do it. So
yeah, they're in LA, no longer San Diego. not to poke the bear, but I found it very.
Sorry to all 13 of their fans in San Diego.
It's all the same to me, just like it's still the Washington Redskins.
Yeah. I find it very interesting that Kellen Moore said, "Not a chance. I am not going to be the interim head coach." They offered it to him, and he said, "No, thank you." So he's clearly moving on. He wants nothing to do with this shit show to tarnish his little shine he has left as well. Plus, if you don't have Herbert, I mean, it could make you look. Remember Joe Brady, which he's making a comeback, but remember he was the next great thing, and then he went to Carolina under Matt Rule, and he didn't have Joe Burrow and Chase and Jefferson at LSU setting records. Everybody forgot about him. So more power to him.
Yeah.
Sounds like Joe Brady still owes Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase some money. Hopefully he picks up dinner when they hang out.
We're on to Sunday, which is Christmas Eve. Starting off early morning, Atlanta home game versus the Colts. And I'm just going to go ahead and assume there's action on every game this week because I keep trying to reference the sheet this week, and it's just so full of every game. So you guys are on it. You guys got action on everything.
Cover the world.
Zesty, start us off.
Yeah. There's actually been some movement on the Falcons with the news that the Colts might have Jonathan Taylor and Pittman back. I believe Heineke is an upgrade as far as how you value what the Falcons do. Outside of this has got to be a win game, which is completely horseshit. Like that, you cannot calculate that. That's just assumptions to make you feel better on your bets. I've been guilty about it too, but literally, it's not like they're like, oh, God, they're not drinking Bugs Bunny's magic stuff. The Falcons are a mess.
I believe it was MJ's secret stuff.
Oh, MJ's secret stuff. Yeah. They don't do anything well at all. And I get maybe it was a decent buyback spot losing to the Panthers. The Colts are running. I had it. Naturally, I don't have it relatively. So I think they're the second best ATS team the last 7 weeks. I think they're 7-1, 6-1, something like that. And then the Ravens are Niners. I mean, they're right up there, so they're playing really good ball. Yeah, a bad team laying points is going to be a theme here. Doesn't usually work out very well, so that's my assumption. This is another part of my teaser with the Steelers. I lumped them all together, but any of the 4 teams I put on a teaser, you can split them up and do a 2-team teaser, 14. But, diversify yourself.
Public, any thoughts on that Atlanta game before we move on, or should go into another Sunday matchup, 11 o'clock?
Yeah, I'm on the Colts as well. And I originally wrote it down at +1, but haven't placed a wager yet, and I'll continue to follow the +2.5. Not understanding the line movement. it's something that kind of seems like a mystery to me. Much like the Thursday night game seemed like a mystery. Thought it should have been more. This is moving against the Colts. Little weird here. If they have Taylor healthy, that makes Minshew that much better, and he's can be slightly above average. And while I would love to think that Atlanta can one day get their shit together and harness the offensive firepower that they have, over the course of the past 15 weeks, they have given me zero reason to believe that they can. So I will go with the Colts here, who I think have a better shot at the victory.
Yeah,
They've
to
got
that.
the Heineken now.
Yeah, to that, I forgot to mention. It's actually one of my better bets, if you want to call it. I mean, I kind of trade all my bets the same, but I'm on the under 44.5. Regardless of who necessarily wins or covers, I don't see both of these teams getting into the 20s. And there must be something else going around. I'll be curious to see what the Saturday or Friday injury report is, because none of this makes much sense. The total hasn't moved, but the line has. Well, I guess they kind of both moved together, but it has trended up. It's 44.5 across the board, pretty much every book. I think that's honestly might be the side to play, but I think the Colts are the team to play as well. So I like both sides.
You're playing both sides. Moving on. Carolina hosts the Packers this week. Tell me what action you like.
Oh, give me them kitties. I think at home they're going to win outright. I think LaFleur is missing A-Rod. I think he was 17-0 in December. He's about to go 0-3 in December. Carolina's, in fact, I had it. They are the worst. They are 4-9 against the spread, which is not the worst. So they're not covering, and they're not playing great, but they've kind of got snake bit with two relatively bad games back to back. They have played much better. You can say that since they fired Frank Wright, matching the win total as well. It's tough to. I'm hoping for a Raiders-esque. I know they were shut out and came out and blew out, but there is some trends that teams that don't score a touchdown, they do come out. But this is 100% fade on Green Bay. Green Bay should not be a 5-point favorite against, especially a road dog against anybody. They are a mess. They don't run the ball. Jordan Love showed flashes. I still think he's well. Without Christian Watson, this team's completely different. I don't know if he's playing or not. I don't care. The Panthers' defense is better than the Buccaneers' defense, and the Buccaneers just slapped him in the face. Green Bay's defense, the last 3 or 4 weeks, they're a sieve. They can't stop the pass. They can't stop the run. It's just problems all around. Like I said, when I believe a team is a bad team, laying points, typically there's a problem and it's not profitable to back that team. Green Bay is going to get some love because it's Green Bay and the Panthers suck. And I guarantee you we'll hear that from a lot of people, but I promise you I think the Panthers win outright. And I would match the bets. I would take the points and put some on the money line.
Interesting.
And I actually like
that there.
And I like the over. For what I just said, I think Carolina scores. I didn't look at their team total, but I think they get into the 20s. The total, I think, was 36. Just seems a little short. Green Bay can score. 36 is just a little short, in my opinion. I mean, if we get too crazy, I don't know if we wouldn't bet it too much higher than 38.5. But I think it gets to that point that we're a score away that covers the 36. So I'm on all three phases on the Panthers here.
Wow. Going all in with those big black cats. I just don't know. This game jumped out at me initially as, man, Green Bay's got to be way better than Carolina. They're only laying 5. Weird. And then you think about it, of course, and you remember Green Bay's not actually that good of a football team. And Carolina is likely to score more than 9 points, which they scored last week. So I think that coming off a home game there, got to remember Carolina not tanking. They don't have their fucking pick, so no reason for them to not try. And that coaching staff down there probably coaching to get their next job since Reich got fired. So I like them to be prepared. Don't mind that pick. Not really on the game, but, I'll be rooting for points with you as we try to encourage these two mediocre football teams to score. So Godspeed.
As of Thursday, and these numbers fluctuate, but take it as you will. So there's 85% of the money on Green Bay, and the game is now 4.5. So that's sharp money is on Carolina. So I'm getting the 5.5 or 5 you were gonna get. The total opened. I have it as 36, but I think my actual bet is. I think I did get 36, but 87% of the money, allegedly. I mean, obviously, we only know what they want to tell us, but it's moved up 1.5 points. So there is some trends going there. Money line. I don't see the money line, but I almost would say this is my second best pick of the weekend. At least the side for sure, but the other ones I like as well.
Second best pick of the weekend is the Roaring Kitties of Carolina. Interessante. Well, we're going to be moving on. Let's talk about Houston hosting Cleveland. And this is a game that's going to sound like it's 2012, Case Keenum and Joe Flacco, but we're still in 2023, guys.
Yeah. I guess I shouldn't rake my picks because I make them because I like them. The one cause for concern I have on this is the Browns' defense away from Cleveland is suspect. But Case Keenum holds the ball quite a bit. The Browns still get after the passer. Houston won the Oiler Bowl last week out of pure disrespect, but Tennessee lost that game. Houston was outplayed. Keenum got bailed out by your old Dallas buddy Schultz. It should have been a pick, should have sealed the game, should have sealed the cover, and somehow they win in overtime due to Levis essentially being out. They did a very good job against Henry, but that's kind of because Tennessee can't do much other than that. The Texans don't have a healthy receiver. As of, it was either today or yesterday, I looked at it. None of them practiced. Literally none of the starting receivers practiced.
Yeah.
That's down to the fourth receiver, John Mechie. Didn't even practice. So Flacco turns the ball over. He holds on to the ball, but he
Did
is still
play
better.
receiver practice this week for the Texans? That's an interesting question.
I don't know if it matters. I think Keenum might be looking at the sky quite a bit. I do like the Texans. I still think they can make the playoffs, but Cleveland runs the ball a little different than Tennessee. I'm not comparing Cleveland and Tennessee, but they don't just hand the ball off. They at least scheme, whether it's zone gap, power trap, stretch. Whereas Tennessee says, here you go. And if Henry gets a running start, he does decent. When they run him out of shotgun, he sucks. Or as much as, probably a Hall of Famer will suck. But the Browns
Right.
look bad against Chicago, but Chicago's not as bad defensively since they acquired Sweat. I forget the ratings, but they've actually climbed up quite a bit. Their offense just struggles, and more of that I think is play calling or drops, not so much quarterback. The quarterback's easy to blame, but Cleveland found a way to win. They're just better spot, better team, and Houston struggles, whether it's Davis Mills or Keenum. I do like Davis Mills, but I don't think it matters whoever starts, especially if they don't have a GD receiver to throw to. This is more pressure at the quarterback, and I don't think they can run the ball to counteract pressure.
Even if they had a receiver, I don't care what year it is. Joe Flacco has always been better than either one of those guys. So there's that too. Flacco's leading these guys to the playoffs.
Jets Flacco was bad, but the other thing people forget, he might be 50, but he's always been good in December. Always. So, and he's continuing right off the couch.
Cold weather boy.
So,
Cold weather boy.
He's having the time of his life. He's going to be slinging it. I don't have this, but Houston doesn't defend the tight ends very well. And old Predator there, he's a beast. I wouldn't be surprised if he scored a touchdown. Yeah, there's nothing about Houston I can back. So it's either get the Browns before it gets to 3 or lay off the game is how I would play it.
Yep. All right, moving on. Minnesota hosting the Lions. Some more kitties.
If I were to rank my picks, this is number 1. Vikings are going to win outright. I think it's
Oh, yeah.
today, at some point, it was 3.5. I don't know how current this is that I'm looking at. It's at 3. So, do we remember? I do, because I was in Wendover with probably both of you guys. And we were in a hotel room. And I think
Whoa. We're recording live, you know this.
Yeah. An associate of ours that also shares the same name as me was dead set on the Rams. And he, of course, in his fashion, was doing one of these, and he probably destroyed his hat when Goff had 90 yards total and the Patriots won the Super Bowl. Remember that run and gun Rams team? Well, you know who the defensive coordinator was? Flores. Flores is the defensive coordinator for the Rams, or the Vikings. Then you go into more recent, the Dolphins. 3 turnovers. He was the head coach, had an influence on that. Jared Goff is the second best quarterback in the league with no pressure. When he gets pressured or blitzed, he is the 31st worst quarterback. Struggles against cover 2. Flores is primarily a cover 2 defense with pressure. So everything goes against Detroit. This is the first matchup. It's divisional. Nick Mullins is suitable, and Ty Chandler is a better running back than Madison. He's going to be out. That's more beneficial to the offense. Jefferson's going to play, but I don't even care. Hawkinson, running game, defense. It's going to be ugly, and everybody's going to start wondering, is Detroit who we think they are? And they have Dallas next week. Not that they're looking ahead because they control their own destiny and they're trying to win the division. With a win, they get a playoff. I don't care. The matchup is terrible for Detroit. And the number, if you look further into it, kind of shows that Minnesota is the side. Minnesota will probably win outright.
Public. See if they're winning outright.
I can't believe after everything that we said about Nick Mullins last week, now we're backing him against the Lions. So a little bit of a surprise move there, I suppose, for the audience. But I don't hate the pick, especially if you can get the hook at 3.5. Not a bad option. And I do think it's going to end up being close. Minnesota usually plays the Lions well. And if all those things that you say about Brian Flores are true, then not looking good for Goff and the fellas, especially knowing that they might try and be a little bit more conservative in this game offensively because they do play them again in 3 weeks. But we'll see, because if they win this one, then maybe that game doesn't matter as much, especially if they beat Dallas. But they can lock up the division here. Kind of concerns me, but I also don't have huge faith in Goff when he's on the road. So go skull them Vikings.
For the record, I still think Nick Mullins. I'll change my word I was just going to say. It's a week to week in the NFL. I like him this week. I still think he looks
interesting in a helmet.
Yes. But
Yeah,
the more
helmets indeed.
Yeah. The more I'm thinking it through my head, this is a trouble spot for the Lions because they go Vikings, Dallas, Vikings.
Yeah.
That week 18 could be I don't know the breakdown here, but it could be for the division, especially if they lose outright. I don't know if the Dallas game actually affects that, but now you have to play week 18 against them. It could be troublesome for the Lions, but it doesn't. And as I don't have it on the sheet either, but Vikings under is very profitable. First quarter under 100%. Game totals 100%. The problem is they're playing Detroit and they allow everybody but Kansas City to score points. So I didn't really play it too much, but the first quarter under is still pretty valuable.
I don't know that that's going to hit this week. Let's go, Jahmyr Gibbs. No, we'll move on to the Washington Commanders at the New York Jets. A couple of garbage football teams playing some garbage football. But I know you're going to be watching, and I know you're going to have some money on it, Zesty.
Yeah, I don't know about that. There's been a few games I've had to turn away for other interests. I told the betting public to never allow me to bet the Jets again. I've somewhat talked about it with some of the other bets. Bad teams laying points, fade them. This is the worst defense versus the worst offense. Jets are at home. I think Simeon's playing quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest struggle of the Commanders was against the pass. They still kind of play the run decently. Sneaky, and it would take complete degenerate. My shirt says my fellow degenerates to bet the over. I think the over has a lot of value too.
Don't tell me that. Who's scoring? Who's scoring?
Both of them. Both defenses can score. I mean, I wouldn't play the under.
Well, the number is 37, so yeah, it's a good number.
I'm not saying I love the over, but the over is definitely the play versus the under. Let's be honest.
I love that you replied the defenses can score, because the reason I was troubled with that is really counting on the Washington defense this week.
Ooh, I wouldn't do that. I would well, I don't want to get into tampering with the fantasy league, but I would not start the Commanders.
Yeah,
anyway,
we'll talk about that after the pod, after the show.
I know anybody we know is probably not interested in this game, but there is quite a bit of value in a really ugly game that nobody wants to watch. But
public, any interest in this game enough to comment on it more, or you want to move on?
I don't know how anyone really knows what to do with the Jets here, but I would say that this game likely does have a couple defensive scores in it, because if I was the Jets D, who's pretty decent, I would, at this point in the season, just be going with fuck it on defense. So if I'm a corner, I'm looking for that pick six all game. If I get beat deep, I don't fucking care anyway. So that could lead to some scoring on offense, more so than you'd see, and could lead to a defensive touchdown or two, because both quarterbacks have a habit of throwing it to the other fucking team. So good luck. Maybe this game might actually be more exciting than people think, because neither team really gives a shit, so they're just going to be saying fuck it on H5.
Yeah, and we really want to get degenerate with it. I don't know what the alt total is, but if you can get 44, essentially an extra touchdown over the total that the guys in the desert put out, it might be worthwhile, because, as you said, everybody assumes the Jets defense is good. They've actually played kind of dog shit, and the Commanders are dog shit. Now, the Jets might change that, but they still have guys. I mean, it's still an NFL team. But like I would say, do not bet the under. If you want to stay away, that's fine, but don't bet the under thinking it's going to be an under game. And of course, we'll talk about this next week, and it'll probably be 11-0 or some shit like that. But the under is not a play.
All righty. Moving on. Tennessee hosts Seattle. Sounds like another ugly football game. I don't care what you want to say about the Seahawks. All respect to Geno Smith. I know I disrespected him earlier in the program, but no respect to Tennessee here. And I do feel like, from my perspective, Seattle is that team that plays down to their opponent's level. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, Zesty.
Yeah, we are week 15, 16? And it seems like every week I choose the ugliest games possible. So the big thing on this is Ryan Tannehill. So I've already got it locked in, and I got a decent number. I've got it at 3. The hopes are Tannehill starts. Now, if Levis plays, I'm a little less excited about it. But this is more of a Tennessee plays really well for a bad team at home. They're very well coached, even though the record indicates differently. This is a fade on Seattle. They just had an emotional win on Monday night. They're traveling across country, potentially with a backup. I do think Geno and Locke are within a point of each other. I don't think there's a huge drop off of what they want to do.
Oh yeah, I forgot it might be Locke. And I had no idea Tannehill was coming back, but that's amazing for Tennessee.
It is different. And I can almost promise you Derrick Henry will not have 12 yards rushing or whatever he had. I know you're hoping for that. But this is just a sandwich spot for Seattle. Emotional win, playoff hopes, going cross country. They do travel well going across. It's going to be a tough spot, especially if Tannehill plays. He's a veteran. He will make dumb mistakes too. That's why he got benched, but he is an upgrade over Levis, in my opinion. And technically Seattle on a short week, but it's more that you just beat the Eagles in an emotional way on national TV. They had no business winning that game. I mean, they got pretty much dominated. And they've been dominated. Obviously, one of them was the Niners, which tends to happen, but I don't know. It's more of a spot bet, just like with the San Diego Chargers. But
Superchargers.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can really say that Tennessee I can
Home dog.
the table. It's home dog. Home dog, early start against an East Coast or a West Coast team on the East Coast. There's just a lot of things that kind of compile.
Public, do you agree?
Yeah, not so fast. Once again, these spot matchups, we're just in different spots. Although, I got to say, not too strong feelings on this one. I do have Seattle on the card right now at -3, but I'm not feeling too great about it. Really watching the health of Levis versus Tannehill. If they try to throw Levis out there, I'm more inclined to back Seattle for the reasons that you mentioned. If they throw Tannehill out there, I imagine he'll be trying to get some good tape on film so that he can parlay that into a job next year. And him and Derrick Henry usually work well together. So a lot of reasons not to follow Seattle here. I'm just hoping that they throw Will Levis and his bum ankle out, and then Seattle can come in, pick up a road win since they're still fighting for the playoffs. But might fall off him completely if Tannehill's a confirmed starter.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a cop-out because it is it is two different bets. If Levis does play, I tend to agree with you. More because I think the playbook does one of these, whereas with Tannehill, he might be looking for a new job and want to show out. Again, the bet is the spot with the idea Tannehill is going to play. The few reports I've read and listened to, Levis isn't going to practice all week. He's going to try to give it a go Sunday, and if he can go, he's going to play. That's what he says. Vrabel,
tough guy.
Vrabel, on the other hand, might be like, why don't you take a day? So,
I mean, if Tannehill's
Which
available.
happened to Gino last week.
Yeah,
That's one reason too. Like the short week thing matters a little less for Seattle because if they throw Gino out there, he's well rested.
Yeah.
like I said, the Geno to lock, I don't really see that big of a drop off. I do think Geno's probably more valuable on the betting side.
Yeah. Like fan
I-
favorite type value.
He
Like
just
people,
looks
like people overvalue him just because
yeah.
they think he's good. Like we were saying about, we said this, I don't know if it was in the show or in the chat, but people overvalue Carr because he's likable.
So to that, I don't see this being a heavily bet game, but at kickoff, if you like the Titans, you'll probably get a better number, or at least the best number at 3. But if Geno is announced, it might get to 3.5, in my opinion, which, we'll see. It's going to be an ugly game.
Yeah. All righty, gentlemen, we'll move on to the late start, 2:05 on a Sunday. The Jags go to Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay in that very, very close division race, trying to hold strong, trying to win a division, host a playoff game at 7-7, trying to keep their head above water against the Jags. And that game's -3. The over's 41.
Yeah. It sounds as if today Sunshine's going to miss his first career game, which explains it getting to 3 now. Even going into it, the Jaguars struggle essentially in the state of Florida. For whatever reason, they do not play well at home or pretty much anywhere in Florida. The thought process, and this is the 4th of the teams I've teased, so that's the Steelers, Titans, Jaguars, and Colts. So they're all about 8.5 to 9 points. Those are all good numbers. Play it how you want. The thought process in this is Baker Mayfield just looked amazing. The Buccaneers looked amazing. In Baker's career, or at least recent career, I don't want to say his whole career because I didn't look that far back, but he can't string together against the spread wins, which they're a favorite. So that would tell me it's a fade on them coming to regressing. And then I checked the injury report. Vita Vea, which is very important to their defense, was a limited participant in practice. I think he'll play, but that's something to watch. I think he's not as important as Sunshine. But
Who's Sunshine's backup?
CJ Beathard. He's just a career backup. He's serviceable enough. There is going to be a drop off, like I said. If Sunshine played, and hell, he might pull the essentially anybody in concussion protocol. The only ones that played, I think, is Purdy. So it's still possible. They haven't ruled him out, but they're heavily suspecting he's going to miss a game.
Yeah.
Vita Vea, like I was saying, is nowhere near the value of a quarterback. But on the defense, he is incredibly valuable. That now you're a little more susceptible to running the ball. Who knows what Jacksonville is going to do? They seem to shoot themselves in the foot. If you didn't watch the game against Baltimore, you'd think they got punked or destroyed. When in reality, I think they had 5 drives, 2 fumbles, 2 missed field goals. So if you start, 2, and then that terrible, I don't know what the hell, he must have been concussed at the second quarter, because I don't know why they wouldn't spike the ball or, throw it to the end zone.
That was a wild play.
Yeah, so they left a lot on the bone. Maybe they're not that well coached. I was kind of I always respected Peterson anyway, but Jacksonville seems to shoot themselves in the foot, but so does Tampa Bay. Like, it would not shock me. Tampa Bay just watched the Saints lose. The Falcons play the Colts. That they might go in. Obviously, no NFL team goes in sleepwalking, but I don't think anybody wants to win the division. So, we'll fumble the ball around and like.
It is the division that no one wants to win. So, just nobody in the division wins this week. That'd be great. Public, your thoughts on this game, if any?
Jaguars are on quite a bit of a slide. Nice to back a team that has something to fight back for. That being said, I jumped on the Buccaneers super contest-wise early in the week, get them at a pick 'em or -1. Looks like, as you said, Sunshine not going to play, so it's jumped up to 3. I agree. Jags did look better than the score last week. But here, I take it as less the division that nobody wants to win and more the division where none of these fucking teams are very good, which is probably the same thing. But the Buccaneers here, I think, do have a chance. And the big thing to focus on here, if you do have to watch this game for some reason, or you throw some money on it, so you want to flip over to it, is watch Vita Vea play football, because it is fucking awesome to watch him throw around 2 to 3 humans at a time and just absolutely look like that offensive linemen in the NFL are children relative to him at times. So if you can get a taste of that action, I would say that's the way to go for this game. And I'd probably lean more to Baker's side here because I don't trust Beathard. And I think there's, not a whole lot of reason to back the Jags here, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with you. Vita Vea is probably the most dominant interior defensive lineman I've seen since Haloti Nada or Lions Sue. And Aaron Donald's in there too, but we already know that. But as far as really not getting in the stats, but destroying multiple 300-pound, equally talented players. Like if they had a ranking like they do quarterbacks, like he would be, he is dominant. Very festive there, moderator. To close out, this is definitely when I made my bet, this was hoping to get a good line with Sunshine playing. I knew it'd be a swing just like that. They'd take it off the board. So it's probably going to close at 3.5. So I got the worst number on it. And somehow if Sunshine does play, I get a decent number. I doubt he plays, but going into it, it was more of a complete fade on Baker, which I'm a fan of. It's just
Baker off a high.
Yeah, he hasn't quite strung it together. And some of it's his team. Like, not necessarily him playing bad. It's just, for whatever reason, he went from perfect passer rating, which, whatever. But there's only one other person to do it. So, and that was Rodgers in Lambeau. We mentioned Green Bay's defense is dog shit anyway, but I don't know. Just, like I said, maybe CJ Beathard is beneficial to the offense. Maybe they'll spread it around instead of rely on Sunshine. And man, Sunshine, he's kind of borderline busted. Like, he went from such a high against the Chargers, which the Chargers were Charger, but sometimes it just looks not very good. Talented as hell, but he hasn't put it together.
I said as much. I said a whole lot more in the chat recently. I said, "Can we end the whole experiment?" But I was being a little bit funny when I said that. But he does look so bad at times where comments like that seem like they should be made.
Yeah, he looks amazing or terrible. Like, there's not really a difference.
You called him Ryan Tannehill. It's so disrespectful.
I did call him Ryan Tannehill, to be perfectly clear. And I do think that Ryan Tannehill coming back this week is really good for Tennessee. So, anyway, I'm hoping we do see some points and that Baker figures it out, strings a couple against the spread wins together. Me personally, I'd like to see Tampa Bay win that division. I'd also like to see them on the red zone a lot because I'm likely going to have to watch the Cardinals play the fucking Bears in that late window. So if you guys want to start talking about the Cardinals Bears, we can do that. There's another really good game in that late window, so we should save that for last.
No fucking way are they putting Cardinals Bears on over Miami and fucking Dallas.
They will in my market because they think I might be a Cardinals fan.
Well, trust me,
that's fucking sickening. It's true.
I get blacked out and I got to watch the Donkeys for the rest of my life. So I feel you. To end it, my honest comparison would be for Sunshine is a more mobile Matt Ryan, maybe.
More mobile Matt Ryan.
I mean,
it's not if he gets to that level because Matt Ryan has some really good years in Atlanta, and he threw the fucking ball to Julio Jones. So I'd love to see Sunshine do that.
That's what I'm saying. I think everybody's like, "Oh, he's the next Peyton Manning or this and that." I'm a fan. I don't know if he is who they think. And maybe it's Jacksonville. Maybe we can still blame the urban stunt, but. There's so much
shout out
more.
Roddy White, not to be disrespected. Can't fucking leave him out of there. Tony Gonzalez. I mean, Matt Ryan. Some good years. Shout out Matty Ice. But yeah. Wrapping up Jacksonville, Tampa Bay. Should be an interesting matchup. We'll move on to the Cardinals. It is in Chicago. They're giving the Cardinals 4 points, your favorite number. Zesty. Yeah, the over under 43. And it's a chilly, windy 52 degrees in Chicago. Did you have this on the sheet?
Yeah, so I've got the team total of the Cardinals on the sheet.
Yeah.
If I were to pick a side, if you got it early or can get a 3, I would potentially back the Bears. I think the Bears, the whole thought process is the Cardinals start fast, finish weak. But the Bears defense has played really well, struggled late. I just
They
in the
were
conditions.
until now they're completely out of a playoff race.
Yeah, but I still think they're honestly, I think they're playing for Justin Fields.
Yeah.
But the defense, as I mentioned, since they had Sweat, they're getting after the passer. They're playing decent. I'm pretty sure Kyler's still playing, but in cold weather, who knows? Like outdoor games versus, or I guess away from Arizona, the Cardinals are a completely different team. I think they're averaging like 11 or 12 points or something like that. I know it's a little skewed because Kyler only played so much, but
let me tell you about an experiment that needs to be ended. Well, we're on that. Kyler Murray. Sorry. Get the fuck out of here.
You know they're a top 10 rushing team? I didn't know that. I found that out today. And a lot of that is probably a little bit of Kyler getting, an extra 40 or whatever with some rushing. But again, this is more, I do believe the Bears defense is not elite, but they are better. That's why I don't think the Cardinals score more than 17. The team total is 19.5. Essentially, I don't think they're going to get to 20. They might get to 17. Who knows? Kyler might. Well, I don't want to wish any. Who knows if he'll finish the game? for whatever reason.
I don't want to wish anybody either, but that's where my head went too. So yeah. It's funny you say that.
I don't like the side. I don't like the total too much. Immediately, my thought is if you're going to bet it, bet the over because everybody thinks, or maybe I'm in my own head here, but everybody's like, oh, the Bears, Cardinals, terrible, bet the under. Not on the side, not on the total. If I had to pick one, I would pick the Bears. 8-4, because I don't want to lay 4, but I don't trust the Cardinals to back 4. Gun to the head, I would back the Bears -4, and I'd probably take the total over 43, but that's why I ended up on my bet just fading the Cardinals completely under 19.5.
Yeah, I like that angle. Nice. It seems safer than the other plays. Public, your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, just real quick. I think that Arizona stiffens up in the cold up in Chicago, like the team total under. If I was going to do anything here, I'd probably take the Bears and, ride it out. I don't know that I really love the over just because I feel like Arizona struggles to score so much. But that's how I see it shaking out.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch the total, but if I had to, the under feels like somebody's fishing for it. Most of the game is ugly. Maybe you could flirt if you really are that degenerate. You could probably flirt with each team's tight end to score a touchdown. Not together, but I think McBride possibly could commit if he could catch the goddamn ball. Is probably going to be a target.
Nice, wet, sloppy day looks like in the weather forecast. So
Yeah,
tight end play may come into factor there.
Yeah, other than fading the Cardinals, there's not a lot of this game I really looked into or cared. I like the Bears defense more than I like the Cardinals defense or offense on the road. Settled with it. Don't even know if I'll watch this game.
Love it. We'll move on to a game that I think we'll all be hoping to watch. The best game of the afternoon slate by far. Sunday, 2:25, Dallas goes to Miami. Miami's -1 right now. Over-under's 50. This is a big matchup, two good teams. Tell me where you stand on it, Zesty.
I'm very down the line, honestly. I lean Miami, but I'm hesitant, and this is why. This isn't why. This is why I lean Miami. But so teams late in the year above 70% win percentage. So Miami, Dallas. The favorites cover 67% of the time. But just as I told you about Goff, Tua is the 32nd worst quarterback when pressured. He's the number 1 quarterback with 0 pressure. So now, offense, defense. The Cowboys, like I said, one of my favorite things to do is a team that gets embarrassed. I like to back them. I do have a Dolphins ticket at minus, I think it's 1.5. But going into it, I was very skeptical. The reason I decided to go that route is they do run the ball well. Dallas has struggled against the run on the road, at least. But they were different runs. Like Miami is almost a little more finesse run versus the Cardinals and the Bills, the Niners. They were a little more, we're going to run at you and target you. Mike McDaniels comes from the Shanahan tree, so he's got similar runs that I do think they are going to target Parsons at the point of attack, limit his speed. I still think he plays the run well. It's just his speed is his superpower. Getting a little further into it. I don't know if Rankins is going to play, or Hankins or Rankins or whoever their defensive tackle is. I know who he is, but I can't remember his name. He is a pretty key component, as we saw in Buffalo, which the other side of it is Miami, I think since week 10, they flipped the switch. They get after the quarterback. Dak is about middle of the pack. Dak when he's pressured. The secondary in Miami is a little banged up. I joked with some people. I think this is the Pretender Bowl. I almost kept it off my sheet completely. I don't know if the total hits either. Everybody's going to assume the total is going to hit. The reason.
Shout out to the Pretender. Used to air on USA Network and TNT even, but one of the greatest shows you'll ever watch.
Yeah.
Go watch Pretender if you have a chance. But this is the Pretender Bowl. I'm glad you reminded me of that.
Like I said, I typically like this spot for teams like Dallas that just got the shit pushed in. But I don't know if I can trust them. And really, it doesn't affect their outcome. They can still win the division and lose. They're not going to plan for that, but they were outclassed. They were outcoached. They were out everything in national TV. I don't know if they have the fortitude to come back and, like, they are the Dallas Cowboys. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, we have pride. They're probably going to go out, lay an egg, and then come back and beat the shit out of Detroit, and everybody's going to be like, oh, are they a Super Bowl contender again? Like, this is just what Dallas does. This is why. And then on the other side, Miami just lost to Tennessee at home. So I don't know which side I can trust other than Dallas struggles against the run. Miami runs the ball well. They got the deep threats. Tua, if the pass rush doesn't get to them and they run the ball well, which that's the kryptonite for Dallas because they don't let the horses come, there's just a lot of things that lead more to Miami than Dallas. And I'm not a huge Dick Dak fan anyway. I think like I said, I think he's middle of the pack Dak in stat pat. I think he's better quarterback than the Commanders have had in almost any time, but
Irrelevant.
I think Miami is clicking enough, and at home, the weather's not going to be a factor. This is going to come down to man up, man on man. They both play similar styles, and Dallas cannot run the ball. So Dick Dak is going to be throwing the ball, and Miami has been getting after the passer. The secondary injuries do concern me kind of, but as far as I know, Ramsey's healthy. He's going to lock up CD. I would take CD's under. And then from there, it's like, this is a show me game for Dak because, like it was said, middle of the pack Dak. But I don't know.
Yeah. I knew I wasn't starting Dak this week in fantasy. That's where I'm at with it. And I think Dallas may end up even pulling this out of their ass. But that would be,
I don't know. You got to show me, especially
to me, it would be because of their defense. It wouldn't be because of Dak. I don't see that. I don't see Dak stepping up to the plate and going toe for toe with the Miami offense that puts up 35 points here.
Yeah, so I haven't really broke it down, but I've watched a lot of Dallas's games. I don't even know how good this defense is. And I know that's slander, but
You mentioned it a couple times on the show.
If you look at the opponents and then what they had to do, if you're playing left-handed, you're going to look really good to where you can jump on a route.
You might not be wrong.
Take 6 picks to the house, and everybody thinks you're the best. I should have researched this, but Bland.
That's why this is the Pretender Bowl.
Yeah,
we're about to fucking find out.
Yeah, Bland will get paid, but he is not that great of a corner. He is a sit and squat, and I promise you, there's going to be a double move that he's going to. Him and Hooker both are going to look ridiculous, assuming Tua can stand upright. I know their entire offensive line didn't practice Wednesday or today, but
what do they got? That bird flu?
I don't know. To me, the only it's either no bet or Miami. I wouldn't touch the totals. I'm hoping it goes over just so it's entertaining, but I don't have faith in that either. It could be Miami at some points have looked less than exciting. Miami or nothing on my side.
Public. Give us that public perspective. Tell us why them boys are inside.
Oh, obviously, this is tough for me to listen to here. I'm actually on the Dolphins, so can't really help you out much there. But if you were to try to convince yourself that Dallas is the pick here, it's because this is the Dan Quinn game, and the playbook to beat the Dolphins is you put pressure on the quarterback quickly, and you close down horizontal run lanes where the Dolphins try to get you in one-on-one matchups and exploit the fact that they have the fastest guys on the field. So if you can match their running game in speed, which I think the Raiders actually did a pretty decent job of, or disrupt the offensive line enough so that they're not able to get downfield one-on-one matchups on your linebackers, and you're able to limit some of the running lanes that they try to create for Mostert and for Achane, then that's how you beat the Dolphins. And you get Tua to make some bad decisions, which he might do, especially if he's under pressure. Get a couple DBs in the Dallas backfield that are more than ready to try to jump around at the risk of giving up a touchdown. And that's how you beat him. The risk here is that in trying to execute that, if you fuck it up, Waddle for 70, Tyreek for 80, Waddle for 70 again, Tyreek for 80 again. Because if you're not getting to Tua and you got defensive backs taking chances, you are fucked. So I just can't trust Dallas to actually do what they need to do and execute in this game. Call it a reverse jinx here if you want. But I just feel far more comfortable back in Miami in this one.
I actually think you made a excellent point. You called it Dan Quinn game, but you mentioned the linebackers. This is a linebacker game. Dallas's weakness is the linebackers. Unless you want to call Parsons a linebacker, but then where's the pass rush? The reason I say that is, think of it as a coach. If we know they're going to get after. So if they can get after with 4, little different. Dallas doesn't blitz much. But when they do not get to the quarterback, they are vanilla defense. They sit, squat, allow catches. Miami, when clicking, they're going to have motions. They're going to hit, death by 1,000 cuts until they hit the big one. And then it turns into off tackle, power, trap, middle of the field. So the linebackers are going to be exposed. Whether or not they can execute it is a whole other story. That's why they play the game. But as I mentioned, Tua is the number 1 quarterback without pressure. He is the worst starting quarterback under pressure. Now, where they define pressure, I would say probably within 3 seconds or whatever the time frame is. The only way they're going to get to that is if they get in predictable situations, and then that leads me to middle of the pack Dak. I don't know if the offense is going to be able to put the pressure to allow the track meet Dallas defense to play that way. Otherwise, they are vanilla. Sure, they get a lead. Man, they are elite because they're trying to force you into what they are strong at. Sit, squat, pick, sack. I picked Buffalo. Couldn't have been more right. I don't want to do one of these, but the reason I did that is because I think they're fraudulent. I don't think Miami is the Super Bowl contender that everybody thinks they are. There are too many flaws, and that's because we didn't talk about the Rams. I promise you, if I can find this bet, I'm going to take it. The Rams will win a playoff game. And if the seeding is correct, or how I think it's going to line up, the Rams will beat the NFC East champion, whether it's Dallas or the Eagles. I don't care. Both of them. In fact, I heard somebody say it. It kind of had a light bulb moment to me. The Eagles, to me, remind me of, was it 2020 Steelers when they were 11-0 and fucking shit the bed at the end of the year? I don't know. Maybe it was 2019, but they were gangbusters. They were like, oh, they're the greatest team ever, and they got their shit put in the last essentially 6 weeks of the year. That's what the Eagles remind me of. And if Dallas's best win is against those Eagles, I don't know if either one of them are any good. So that's a little thought process in my brain here.
We ready to move on to the night game?
Hey, how can you forget the Patriots Broncos?
In Denver, Mile High.
Yeah, didn't even look at this game. Have zero input.
No money on it?
Zero input. Didn't even look at it. I know there's some
Broncos
steam.
don't have to cover a touchdown at home.
Yeah, there's a lot of steam on the Broncos.
But hey, Zabaduda looked really fucking good last week.
Didn't look at the total, didn't look at the side, didn't look at the team total, didn't look at nothing. I looked at nothing in this game. Want no part of it. If I had to, I would say the under. And that's about as much as I'd get into it. I don't think either. I think the Broncos are coming back. I think the Patriots are still who they were. Their defense has played very well. Their offense doesn't help them. Want nothing to do with this game.
I only looked into this a little bit, and it's a super low total, 34.5. And for that reason, I snagged the over, only thinking that the Broncos defense is not as great as everybody thinks it is. So Zappy Man gonna do something. Prime time, Bill Belichick, and Sean Payton will have Russell Wilson after getting that ass chewed for the last week, ready to go and put up a few points here. So I think both teams can score 17, and then someone will have to score another point to win. God forbid this doesn't end in a fucking tie. That would be the worst fucking loss ever on the total is a 17-17 tie. But that being said, not a strong feeling here. More so just to, give yourself something to fucking do Christmas Eve. Throw a sprinkle on it, and I'll take the over. We'll root for points. Fuck it.
Yeah, we talked a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty sure it was a Panther game. Games under 37, typically the trend is they go under. But recently they've kind of gone over. So I think there's been maybe an over adjustment. Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, didn't look at one thing about this game.
Well, that's okay. You know why? Because on Christmas, we get 3 Monday games. Monday morning, we start with the Chiefs hosting the Raiders. Tell me about it. Chiefs minus 10, over under 41.
Yeah, so this is kind of a trifecta, I guess. I'm on the, I don't know if I even put it on the sheets, but I'm on the Chiefs minus 10. My bigger bet is with the Cardinals, or at least my official bet is with the Cardinals team total under. I've got the Chiefs team total over 26.5. The Chiefs have never scored less than 28 points against the Raiders. This was the same line at home for the Raiders. Nothing has changed other than the Raiders just put up 63 points. So everybody thinks they can score, and the Chiefs cannot score. This is the Chiefs struggle against double-digit lines historically, but that's because they were really good offensively. That they had to bump the line against equally talented teams, if not, or
Yeah, it was inflated.
it was inflated.
But not now.
This game could be 14-0, which wouldn't cover my team total. But the Chiefs are going to score 28 points. The Raiders are on the bottom, just to be vague, the bottom 10 of team total points with the 63. They don't score 20 typically. I don't know if they score 14. I'm very confident the Chiefs score 30. This could be a 30-14 game very easily. There has been a little movement on the under, but instead of messing around with the Raiders at all, I just bet on the Chiefs specifically. But I think this is going to be ugly. In fact, teams that score over 50 the following week struggle. But I don't have the actual numbers written down. So that's all I have.
We know the Raiders had no right scoring the 63 they scored. So,
they were trying to put it on. If they could have scored more, they would have. Like, they didn't call the dogs off. They were trying. And I promise Large Farva is not going to have 4 teeds and look that good against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. I would say this is a bloodbath.
Interesting. Betting public.
Yeah. I don't think Large Farv is ever going to look that good again. That's the best he's looked since Beer Fest. So he was rocking last week, and again, the definition of that performance is an anomaly because it was against a horseshit Chargers team that had completely given up. So I'm also on the Chiefs here, minus 10. Total has gone down to 41 now, so I'm more inclined to jump back on the over since it's dropped off. My concern, though, and why I'll probably hold off on that, is I do think that the Raiders just totally struggled to score here. They couldn't really get shit going against the Chiefs at home, as you alluded to earlier. And the only thing that has fucking changed here since the last time they played is how the public views these teams, and that's largely because people think that the Chiefs still can't score, which arguably they can't, but they get Pacheco back this week. That'll help them. And people now think the Raiders can score, which is still not true. So congratulations, you put up 63 against the horseshit Chargers. you're about to get waxed in Arrowhead, and the Kelseys and Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes are going to be celebrating on Christmas Day.
Listen, guys, I don't think the Raiders covered by any means, but they didn't have Josh Jacobs last week. I think he's coming back. I think also let's just calm down on the bloodbath talk. Like, they may not cover, but they may just keep it a little closer than people think. It's a divisional game. For all the same reasons we didn't think the Chiefs were going to blow out the Raiders in Las Vegas. Oh, wait, we did. Yeah.
And they did, right?
We did, and they did.
And we did.
Just looking at some of the lines here. So the total's gone under, and there's 80% of the money on the over, so it's dropped. 91% of the tickets are on the over. Just like the public mentioned, this has 34-7 or no 34-0 written all over it. Like, the Raiders are going to come back to earth. I don't want to. They're not going to get shut out because they've only been shut out once in their entire history, and that was 2 weeks ago. But 30-7 is very plausible. Like, they're not going to do anything spectacular. It could be 28-3. I mean, it's not going to be. This is a very rare time that the Chiefs double digits has value because nothing has changed except Kansas City's at home now. So implied, they're what, just 7 points better than the Raiders now, but they were 10.5 at home or on the road. So yeah, this doesn't make any sense at all. Zero chance Raiders have a chance to cover. And then that being said, I'd be more inclined that Kansas City is going to score some points. They're going to kind of get right. This is a get right game.
A get right game for Kansas City. Couple touchdowns from my boy Travis Kelce. Just maybe one for Josh Jacobs. Just one. Come on. Definitely gonna need him. Moving on. We got a.
Was Josh Jacobs even playing?
What's that?
I thought Josh Jacobs was a little banged up. Is he playing?
He may or may not. And if he doesn't, I'm in a world of trouble because I already started Alvin Kamara, which was a mistake, clearly. No, we're not getting tied up in the fantasy talk, guys. 2:30 start on Christmas Day. The Giants going to Philly. Can Tommy Cutlets get it done in the home of the cheesesteaks?
No. I don't love this game at all, but this is a get-right game for the Eagles as well. The Giants, they're all on my hit list from last week against the Saints. I foolishly backed the Giants. And you notice they did that every time they sacked him. Well, he got a little upset, said, cut it out with the Italian shit. I just want to play football. So it's clearly gotten to his head. Fired his.
You fucking knock it off.
Yeah, he's got all sorts of shit going on. The Giants, it's midnight. They're going to be a pumpkin again. The Eagles played Seattle, which is a much better team in Seattle, and lost. I have questions about Hurts. I think he's a phenomenal person, and probably a really good leader. I just don't know how good of a quarterback he is. Who better to play than the Giants? That being said, Sirianni is probably the most annoying coach left. Like, I can't stand that guy, but the it being under 2 touchdowns, I hate laying double digits, but like I said, this is a get right game. Everybody's on the Eagles. So I don't know how much I'm going to, or if I even add it to anything substantial, but just like the Rams, 92% of the money is on the Eagles and the line is moving up. Zero. This is Eagles or nothing.
Eagles.
Total, I don't even think I would touch the total because, like I said, this could be a 31-7 kind of game. This is a get-right game for the Eagles. Statement game, because they lose this game, they're probably going to lose the division. They've got to sweep the Giants, essentially, outside of, Dallas collapsing completely, which you can't really account for in capping, but either the Eagles are completely frauds or they're going to beat the shit out of the Giants.
Yeah. That all seems reasonable. Betting public, I know you've got some money on this game.
Yeah, and I think I might be stupidly rolling with Tommy Cutlets yet again. He showed up at that pizzeria joint for free, showed me that he's a fucking stand-up guy, got his head in the right place. I think he largely benefits here from the Eagles being slightly vanilla on the offensive side in this first go-round. Granted, they have lost 3 in a row, so maybe they come out trying to kick some ass. Eagles' first half might not be a bad thing to play around with, but you're likely to get that around 7, so they got to kick that ass. And if they're kicking that ass in the first half, might be a good time to jump on the live bet, reverse course if you did take him at 13.5, or take the Giants at plus 13.5, which I think I might. Division game, Giants mathematically still have a chance. NFC's pretty open above them. A lot of teams that could fuck around and lose. So I like Daboll to have his guys prepped, ready to go. Familiar division opponent. And I do think the Eagles are a little bit pretenderish. A little bit. Just a little. Just enough for the backdoor cover.
Tommy's a stand-up guy this week.
So I don't completely disagree. What's the schedule look like? So the Eagles, since they're bye, they've played Dallas, Seattle. Who else am I missing here? They played somebody else that wasn't like super terrible, but they looked terrible in all their games.
San Francisco, they lost to, but then Buffalo was before that. They beat them by 3.
Yeah, Buffalo, Niners, bye, Cowboys, Seattle. So they've had a pretty, decent stretch of games. The Giants are not near any of that competition. A game I don't even have, or a side I would play, so I would fade the Giants all together. I don't even know what their team total is, but I would take the under. As I said, this is a get-right game. Or the Eagles, whoever they play in the playoffs, money line. Because they're going to be favored. and they're going to lose. Like, you don't just get a flip the switch. Like, you either are dog shit that have won games, or you've just hit, the Niners. We don't think they're bad. The Bills are playing really well. The Cowboys at home are tough. Seattle at home historically has been tough, but they dominated that game. They just choked. I mean, I agree. Their offense, and I think that's Jalen Hurts. They're fucking vanilla. Like, I don't understand it. But there's zero chance I back the Giants here. They're, like I said, they're going to turn into a pumpkin pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. We'll all be watching on Christmas Day as we're enjoying our presents. And we'll be ending the evening with a nice treat of the Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers, the two best teams by record in the league. Over 47, Niners getting 5.5. They're at home. Tell us about this heavyweight matchup, Zesty. Where you stand on it?
Man, there's a lot of trends that love the Ravens. So Lamar, 11-2 against the spread as a dog. Since week 10, dogs have won outright, straight up, on Monday Night Football. The Ravens, since 2017, are 19-3 against the number. I think Lamar Jackson is 19-1 against the number against the NFC. So going into it, I thought about fading a lot of these trends and backing the Niners before I did some of my research, which led me to betting this game a little differently. So I think the Niners are going to score. So my best bet for the game is Niners over 26.5. However, I think the Ravens are going to do enough shit, especially if Eric Armstead is out, which I think he's borderline. The Ravens are also a good team. I personally think this is a Super Bowl matchup, and we're going to see a lot, and then which leads me to I think the total goes over too. And then lastly, I'm hoping it gets a 6. I highly doubt it gets a 6. It's probably going to come closer to 5. But I would have to back the Ravens because they're equally coached, equally have playmakers. Lamar, when healthy, has proven he's capable. The Niners like to bully people. The Ravens have guys, even though they've struggled kind of against the run, they have guys that can play it. But as the Cardinals showed you, the Niners, or this was last week, are a little susceptible to the running game as well. So I think this is going to be a back and forth kind of game. Niners win outright, but I think the Ravens cause quite a bit of problems.
Yeah. I'm definitely staying away from this game. For me, they're the two teams that I dislike probably the most in the league. Full disclosure. Don't like to bet either one of these powerhouses right here. Betting public, how do you feel about it?
I'm on the Ravens, like the over as well. I think this is the highest scoring matchup. I think the Ravens pull it out. Might slip a little bit on the money line. Everything you said about Lamar against the NFC is correct. And don't mean that from a fact checking perspective. Just mean he's historically been really good crossing leagues. And I think that what he'll be able to do on offense is going to be enough here to create some problems. Ravens defense is the big attraction here for me. I think they're going to be able to do enough. They've got the linebackers to do the things that you need to do to beat San Francisco, which is cover multiple levels against them at the linebacker and safety position really well throughout the game. So I think that they find a little bit more success stopping the things that Shanahan likes to do and that finds that the 49ers find success with so often against other teams. So give me them dirty blackbirds all the way.
So additional to that, which kind of I learned something, made me scratch my head a little bit. The Niners don't cover the tight end too terribly well, considering they have one, if not the best, middle linebacker in the game. I know they used to have a safety, but he's injured. The Ravens don't necessarily focalize their offense around tight ends, but I think that's going to help Lamar out. We saw him Sunday night. It's tough to cover 8 seconds. Jacksonville had success with called a spy blitz, or however you want to word it. They gap blitzed and pinched the pocket, but when they didn't, he would just sit there, fuck around, find somebody open. So clearly the Niners have people to do that, but this is not your typical quarterback that you can just unleash the hounds because you might expose yourself. So I like I said, I think they're going to go possession for possession. I think the Niners are better. That's why I like the team total. And the Ravens defense isn't great. They're not terrible, but they're not. Everybody assumes the Ravens and Steelers have good defenses, and they're not necessarily as good as you think they are. So give me points. Give me points.
Yeah, their offense is good. Yeah, and I can see it going back and forth for sure. In all honesty, I do think, they're the two best teams in the league for a reason, and like you just said, it's not really their defenses necessarily. It's their powerhouse offenses. They got weapons everywhere, especially on the Niners side, which is why I just think at the end of the day, the Niners are going to be more efficient with the ball. They go drive for drive, but the Niners finish drives, where the Ravens, if they get points, are lucky sometimes. They're up and down. They're on the road. Let's go Niners at home.
I can promise you it's not going to be a ball control game. Neither one of these teams fear each other. They respect each other, but they don't fear each other. They're not going to do one,
Protect
two.
the ball.
Yeah, they're not going to do one,
be
two.
vanilla.
Yeah, cloud of dust shit. They're going to run their offense.
Yeah.
They're probably going to try to learn one another in case they do match up. But I think both of these are two of the best coaches in the league. Shanahan certainly schemes up. Like I said, give me some points.
Christmas gift this game. It'll be a good one.
Let's hope.
I do think it'll be a good game. Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers. Well, that wraps us up for week 16. Flew by.
Do we want to quickly? I'll throw some horseshit bowl games at you, Zesty, and
Yeah.
you tell me if you've even thought about this game.
Sure.
So I'll just run down the Saturday slate.
So
as,
before we get into that, while you guys have money burning in your pocket, go throw it on the Bills to win the AFC East at plus 210 because they control their own destiny. And I promise you, if he gets a head-to-head to Miami, they're going to beat that ass. Because they're either going to win it. Now they can still get in the playoffs, but they're probably going to win outright, which means they're going to win the division.
Go Bills. Hot take there.
Thank you. Go Josh Allen, go Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. Not good for our Miami pick against Dallas, I suppose.
That doesn't matter. It's that the end of the year head-to-head, if the Bills win out, they're going to beat Miami in Week 18 for the division.
Yeah. Then they'll have the tiebreaker. Yeah. All right. Some horseshit games. In the 76 Birmingham Bowl, the Troy Trojans versus the Duke Blue Devils. -7 for the Troy Trojans. Duke just sent their quarterback to Notre Dame. Do we care?
The Duke team I know is not available. They lost their coach to Texas A&M. He did a good job. Duke played very well defense, played really well. Everything fell apart. A lot of people are on Troy. It definitely means more to Troy. I don't know if I would. I don't love 7. I don't know enough about Troy to back 7, but I know Duke is not anywhere close to any of the Duke games we've seen, whether it was Clemson or Notre Dame or some of the other shit they've done. They've just lost too many horses. So Troy, if they had to.
Cruising on down the road in Alabama, the Crampton Bowl, whatever the fuck that is, in Montgomery, Arkansas State and Northern Illinois. Arkansas State -3.
Yeah, don't know enough about either one of them. Northern Illinois, historically, historically have played really well, but I don't think I watched either one of these all year long, so couldn't tell you one thing about them.
Both teams 6-6, weekend into a horseshit bowl. Fuck them. Here's one that I do think is
But if
interesting.
you bet it, more power to you, because it means you're complete degenerate. I love it.
Perfect people to be listening to this. But to this game, the Ammon G. Carter Stadium Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, the mighty Air Force versus first-time bowl appearances for James Madison, who felt snubbed all year. James Madison, 2-point favorite against the Air Force Falcons.
I have watched a lot of Air Force. James Madison is a powerhouse, as much as a powerhouse can be. The trend is leaning more towards Air Force. The Air Force lost their quarterback. I don't know if he's back or not, but once they lost their quarterback, they went right down the shitter. They did play good defense, and then they, started not controlling the ball. If I had to, this means way more to James Madison than it does Air Force. Not that it matters because it's a armed service team or an academy team. They're going to come out and play. It would depend if their starting quarterback's playing because their offense is completely different with the backup quarterback. I would still, I think, roll with James Madison at a better number, even if Air Force's quarterback does play.
All right. Cruising up to Idaho for some famous Idaho potatoes. Georgia State, Utah State. Utah State a 1-point favorite. And their quarterback actually just left the program to go train to be a fucking Navy SEAL.
Yeah, I saw that.
And yet they still went 6-6.
Yeah, some weird trends going. We're about 6 points from the opening total, trending down. And Utah State's actually flipped from a 2.5-point dog to a 2-point favorite. I really didn't watch Utah State. I watched a couple Georgia State games. They're kind of explosive. My gut would be Georgia State, but no real insight to that. Moving forward to the next one, South Alabama versus Eastern Michigan. South Alabama looked pretty good. I've watched them a couple times. Eastern Michigan is essentially a cloud of dust. I don't know if they're 17-point different, but it is college, so it's not too terrible. I think the line is trending a little more towards South Alabama, minus 17. The favorite one, and I thought about betting this as soon as it came out, and I wish I would have, because it opened at 9, and then everybody in Utah's program transferred out, and Northwestern,
6.5.
yeah, Northwestern has kind of been a little darling. Like everybody thought they'd be dog shit, and they played really well. The problem is Kyle Whittingham plays really good in bowl games and the trenches. Utah is going to dominate both sides of the trenches. They could have a running back at quarterback. They have fucking, who's the dipshit that played against Colorado that fucking cost me money because he can't throw the fucking ball? He's their starting quarterback.
That's the JUCO guy?
I don't know, but fuck that guy.
Why don't they just throw Rising out there? If he's healthy and cleared to play, he can play without fucking up his red shirt, right?
I'm surprised he didn't transfer. I think he's dog shit anyway. I think he's just living that fucking Utah, driving around in a Kia or whatever fucking they give him.
He's got that Ford truck.
Luke Batari is the leader, quarterback leader.
Yeah.
5'10", 205. He's basically a fullback at fucking quarterback, it looks like.
Yeah, all I needed was Utah to cover, and I would have won a lot of money. And they fucking just decided, because that was the day Sanders was out. All they had to do was win by 20.
Shador, yeah.
And they fucking fucked around and just wanted to win the game. Fucking Whittingham. Yeah. This game's going to be a trench game. I'm actually rooting for Northwestern because I thought they played really well this year. But Utah's still, even though everybody wanted to leave skill position-wise, they still got dudes up front on both sides. So,
no Utes.
Yeah. San Jose versus Coastal Carolina. Love San Jose State. Obviously, it's now up to 10. It was at 7. And we had the better quarterback more because Coastal Carolina's quarterback transferred out. And Coastal Carolina's quarterback or coach just recently got himself in hot water for taking a bunch of selfies with some stacked women in bikinis. and had to explain that on
I love that.
the beach. So San Jose State's as good as a terrible
Coastal
team.
Carolina, baby.
He had to he had to explain himself connecting with the fans.
Apparently, I didn't read into it, but apparently people were up in arms that he was posting with bikini. I don't know if they were students or just bikini ladies on the beach, but
What are they? Some
Well,
kind of Christian university?
I don't know anything about anything, so
oh yeah, he was enjoying himself. But I don't know why. It's a big deal. Next,
we'll go as
Fade.
far as Tuesday.
What's Tuesday? 26th.
Tuesday we got the Quick Lane Bowl, the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, and the
Yeah.
Guaranteed Rate Bowl.
Yeah, I would fade Minnesota. Yeah, I would just fade Minnesota. I don't know. Every time I've watched them, they were playing decent defenses, but I was a big fan of their coach, but they're ugly game. Texas State Rice for the first responder. Texas State, I believe, is a little wide open offense. I'd probably lean Texas State. I don't know much about Rice. Looks like the total is plummeting, which is interesting. And
Where'd
then
that open? It's at 59 now.
open at 62 with 70% of the money on the over. So for whatever reason, it's plummeting pretty good. In Kansas, UNLV, money on Kansas. Bean is the quarterback. Kansas is like in that weird spot that they're not good enough to not care about a bowl, but they've kind of played decent in the Big 12 sometimes. This game probably means more to UNLV because I don't know if they've been to a bowl game in fucking forever. Interesting trends. So 94% of the money is on the over, and 18% of the tickets are keeping it at the same total. So that would lead me to believe under 64.5 is the side to play. Over 80% of the people are on Kansas. So, like I said, I would. The money is bringing the line up, but the picks. Yeah, I would actually take UNLV to win outright, I think.
That's a big money line bet. That's a good one to take.
Yeah. The other ones I'm not real sure of, but I do like UNLV in that spot. Especially in Arizona. That's fucking damn near home field right there. Running Rebels.
All right. Well, that's a good one to end on. Here's to week 16. Happy Christmas, everybody. Merry Festivus. Hopefully, everybody unwraps some winners.
Happy Christmas.
You guys travel, do so safely. Enjoy your holidays.
Yep. We'll try and record before the New Year Bowls, obviously. So you'll see us regular scheduled time, if not a day early.
Get your
Talk
Michigan
to you
tickets.
later.
Just going to say, get your Michigan tickets. Adios.
Bye.
Later.